Ancient Persian warfare evolved from the earlier military forces of the Medes, who were influenced by the warrior class of the indigenous people of the Iranian plateau, including the Persians, as well as the Assyrian army, which they defeated. The Achaemenid Empire, which lasted from around 550 to 330 BCE, combined the best aspects of these earlier models to create a highly effective military force. In its early stages, the military focus was on defending the cities of the region. Historical records suggest that the Sumerian king of Lagash, Enadum, faced resistance when conquering the area. Sargon of Akkad also encountered challenges when defeating La-Ishan, king of Elam. As the first millennium BCE progressed, the armies were organized into separate citizen units under the command of tribal chiefs who could call upon them to fight during times of war. These armies typically carried spears, maces, short swords, simple bows with arrows, daggers, animal hide or wicker shields, and poleaxes. The Persian tribes, along with other Aryan tribes, settled in different regions by the first millennium BCE. The Persians, in particular, settled east of Elam in the territory known as Persis and gradually expanded from there. They were skilled horsemen and introduced the concept of cavalry to the region. Persians offered their services as mercenaries to various kings, proving effective in hit-and-run engagements. The use of cavalry allowed them to strike and retreat quickly, inflicting significant casualties on the enemy while minimizing their own losses. Another innovation brought by the Aryans to the region was the chariot, which further enhanced the use of horses in battle. The combination of cavalry and chariots gave the Persians a tactical advantage over their opponents. The military advancements of the Achaemenid Empire set the foundation for later empires like the Parthian and Sasanian empires, which further improved upon these military techniques and strategies. The Sasanian Empire, in particular, integrated the various aspects of its predecessors to create a highly effective military that could withstand repeated invasions by the Roman Empire's legions. However, the military supremacy of the Sasanian Empire eventually succumbed to a different and more effective military paradigm when the Arab cavalry emerged. The Sasanians' downfall was a result of facing a new and formidable opponent with different tactics and strengths. In the 8th century BCE, the tribes of the Medes were unified under their first king, Deioces. His grandson, Cyaxares, expanded their territory and played a crucial role in the downfall of the Assyrian Empire. The Assyrians had been expanding their empire, but they overextended themselves, making them vulnerable when the Babylonians and Medes formed a coalition against them in 612 BCE. Under Cyaxares, the traditional method of raising an army was replaced by a standing army known as the spada. This new army was trained under the king's direction and led by him. They were equipped with spears, bows, short swords, and daggers. The army was divided into infantry, archers, and cavalry, with chariots mainly used for transportation rather than in battle. The cavalry wore shirts, trousers, and a light leather tunic with a girdle harness holding their weapons. They likely wore a cloth tiara over a leather helmet as headgear. Infantry probably wore a similar uniform. Around 550 BCE, Cyrus the Great, overthrew his grandfather, Astyages of Media, and established the Achaemenid Empire. He defeated the Median army and went on to conquer Lydia, Elam, and Babylon with an army raised through the levy system known as the Kara. The Persian army initially consisted of a militia of the king's Persian subjects, but only those with enough wealth to afford military equipment were liable for service. This levy system called upon those who owed allegiance to the king to fight. As the Achaemenid Empire expanded, Cyrus had access to more resources. While he kept the Kara system, he also established a standing army called the Spada, consisting of conscripts from different provinces under the command of their governors, satraps. This army was made up not only of Persians but also various subjugated ethnic groups from different parts of the empire. The Kara remained the backbone of the army, and the Persians and closely associated groups like the Medes served in elite units and officer roles. As the empire grew, the subjects closer to the Persians were required to pay less tribute but provide more soldiers for the army. This structure allowed the Achaemenids to build a diverse and formidable military force that played a significant role in shaping the ancient world. The Persian army was organized using a decimal system, where each unit was composed of 10 smaller units. The basic unit was called a company, consisting of 10 men. 10 companies formed a battalion, and 10 battalions constituted a division. Similarly, 10 divisions made up a corps. Each level of the organization, from the company to the corps, had its own commanding officer. The entire army was led by a supreme commander, who could be the king or a noble Persian or Mede trusted by the king. The army was divided into two main branches, infantry and cavalry. The infantry consisted of foot soldiers, archers, and slingers. The cavalry was further divided into horse-borne units known as the Asabari and camel-borne units called the Uzabari. Chariots were also used in some battles, especially by the supreme commander and the standard-bearers, who carried symbols of the gods Ahura Mazda and Mithra, along with sacred divine fire that accompanied the troops into battle. Among the infantry, the most elite group was known as the Immortals. They were the king's trusted guard, and their strength lay in their number always being maintained at 10,000 soldiers. If one of them fell in battle or couldn't fulfill their duties, another would take their place, giving the impression that they were invincible or immortal. Different units in the army were distinguished by wearing different colored uniforms, such as purple, yellow, and blue. Among the Persians, the Immortals wore distinctive attire, including felt caps, tiaras, brightly colored, sleeved tunics over shirts and trousers, breastplate armor, and carried wicker shields, bows, quivers with arrows, short spears, and daggers. Over time, their spears were upgraded with longer shafts and adorned at the bottom with a gold or silver knob, which added to their distinctive appearance and equipment. This well-organized and diverse army played a crucial role in the success and expansion of the Persian Empire, as it allowed them to effectively control and govern their vast territories. Training for the Persian army started at the age of 15, or even as early as 5 for young nobles. The youths underwent military training divided into 50 classes, led by instructors. They were taught a wide range of skills, including horse grooming and horsemanship, hunting, running, swimming, archery, javelin throwing, swordsmanship, martial arts, and military discipline. Additionally, they learned essential survival skills like forced marches, long watches, battle drills, and living off the land. Apart from military training, the young recruits were also expected to contribute to their communities by developing agricultural skills. Sons of the king and nobility received additional education in administrative skills, as they were destined for leadership roles within the empire. At the age of 20, the training transitioned into active military service. Professional soldiers could retire at the age of 50, while conscripts served for the duration of a specific engagement or campaign and then returned home until called up again. Before any battle, a war council was held with senior staff to develop a solid battle plan. In actual combat, the Persian army followed a specific formation. Archers held the center front of the line, flanked by infantry such as slingers and foot soldiers, with cavalry positioned on the wings. The archers initiated the battle, supported by the slingers hurling small stones and lead pellets. The cavalry would then attempt to break the enemy lines from the sides. This formation served the Persians well in many battles, as their opponents often had similar equipment and tactics. However, during their invasions of Greece in 490 BCE and 480 BCE, they faced Greek armies with superior shields and body armor. The Greek phalanx formation proved more effective, and the Persians' wicker reed shields were no match for the Greek shields and body armor. As a result, the Persian army faced significant challenges and defeats when encountering the well-armed Greek forces. Under the rule of Darius I, the Persian navy underwent expansion. However, it's important to note that the fleet was not built or manned by Persians themselves but by the subject nations of the Persian Empire. Various regions contributed to the navy based on their resources and capabilities. For example, Cyprus provided 150 ships, Cilicia and Pamphylia each sent 100, Caria sent 70, and other regions contributed varying numbers of ships. Among the major contributors to the fleet were the Egyptians, Anatolian Greeks, and Phoenicians. The Phoenicians, in particular, played a crucial role and supplied around a third of the fleet, if not more. The ships provided by these regions were well equipped and included the mighty triremes, large warships manned by 200 sailors. Other nations within the empire contributed smaller vessels, such as the 50 or ships that were manned by 80 sailors. To ensure loyalty and prevent defection, each ship had 30 Persian marines assigned to it during battles. This strategy aimed to maintain control and discipline within the navy. The Persian navy, with a significant contribution from the Phoenicians, played a key role in Darius I's campaign to suppress the rebellion of the Ionian Greeks, which had spread to regions like Cyprus, starting around 498 BCE. As a response to the involvement of Athens in supporting the Ionian Greeks' rebellion, Darius I launched a massive campaign against Greece in 490 BCE, during which the navy played an important role. However, at the Battle of Marathon, the Persian navy faced defeat. 10 years later, in 480 BCE, Xerxes I, the successor of Darius I, employed the navy in his invasion of Greece. The Persian navy faced another significant defeat at the Battle of Salamis. This defeat was partially due to the Persian navy's reliance on heavy triremes, which were outmaneuvered by the smaller and more agile Greek ships. After the fall of the Achaemenid Empire to Alexander the Great in 330 BCE, the Seleucid Empire took over, 312 to 63 BCE. However, the Seleucid Empire's power waned after its defeat by the Romans at the Battle of Magnesia in 190 BCE and the Treaty of Apamea in 188 BCE, which resulted in significant territorial losses. During this time, the Parthians, led by King Arsaces I, had risen in revolt against the Seleucids in 247 BCE. The Parthians learned valuable lessons from the decline of the Achaemenid Empire and the weaknesses of the Seleucid military. One of the key reasons for the success of their own revolt was the slow response of the centralized Seleucid military. To address this, the Parthians decentralized the Persian government and adopted a feudal system. Each satrap, who had pledged loyalty to the king, was responsible for a levy of soldiers in times of crisis. They did not maintain a standing army garrisoned in one central location, like the Achaemenid military. Instead, each satrap could mobilize an army in their region and respond directly to threats, informing the king afterward. To counter the superior weaponry, armor, and tactics of the Greeks and Romans, the Parthians reduced their reliance on infantry and focused on developing a powerful cavalry force. The Parthians were renowned for their equestrian skills, and they created a formidable force of both light and heavy cavalry, complemented by smaller infantry units for support. The light cavalry, armed with a bow, arrows, sword, and probably a dagger, engaged in hit-and-run tactics, raids, and the early stages of battle. However, they couldn't match heavily armored troops in direct confrontation. In the battlefield, the Parthian cataphracts, a type of heavily armored mounted warrior, played a crucial role. These cataphracts wore steel helmets and chainmail tunics covering their entire body. They carried composite bows, which offered greater reach and accuracy than simple longbows, as well as swords, daggers, and lances. Their horses were also equipped with chainmail armor for protection. The Parthians' most famous battle tactic was the Parthian shot. In this maneuver, the light cavalry would engage the enemy and then pretend to retreat, enticing the opponents to pursue them. Then, while at full gallop, and notably, without the aid of stirrups, they would turn and fire arrows back at the enemy, causing confusion and inflicting damage. This tactic remained effective even after it became known to opposing forces. Once the enemy was weakened by the shower of arrows, the cataphracts would charge in to further exploit the advantage and engage the enemy in close combat. The Great Sasanian army was founded by Ardashir I, who revolted against the Parthian Empire and established the Sasanian Empire. Ardashir I was a brilliant general, statesman, and administrator who learned from the successes and failures of past empires, such as the Achaemenid, Seleucid, and Parthian, as well as the tactics of the Romans and Greeks. To build an efficient military force, Ardashir I reorganized the army according to the Achaemenid decimal system, centralizing it under his direct control. He combined the effective elements of the Seleucid and Parthian armor and cavalry units, expanded the infantry in the Achaemenid tradition, and even adopted Roman tactics and siege technology. He also revived the neglected navy, although it played a relatively minor role in battles after Ardashir I's reign. Under Shapur I, Ardashir I's son, the Sasanian army expanded the empire and successfully defended it against the Romans. They even captured the Roman Emperor Valerian, forcing him to serve as Shapur I's footstool when he mounted his horse. The Sasanian military continued to thrive under the reign of Khosrau I, also known as Anushirvan the Just, who considered the greatest of the Sasanian kings. He maintained the basic paradigm set by Ardashir I and ensured the military remained an effective fighting force. However, the Sasanian Empire eventually fell to the Muslim Arab invasion in 651 CE. The Arab armies employed hit-and-run tactics similar to the Parthians, had larger armies, and effectively used camel-mounted cavalry and fast-moving infantry archers armed with compound bows. These factors proved challenging for the Sasanian forces. Nonetheless, during its time, the Sasanian army represented one of the best versions of the Persian military and was among the most formidable fighting forces in the ancient world.